Okay, we should be live. Let's make sure we're on. I'm excited. Our first time trying this out. Hopefully this will be a really cool way to get into Facebook and teach our people.
You're live. I just got the notice.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so guys, I hope you're jumping on. I think we'll be able to see your comments on here. We'll try it because I want this to be interactive. So if you guys have questions, post them and we'll be able to see them, and then we're going to have kind of a Q&A at the end to answer all your questions. Most of you guys know me in the group, but let me introduce myself just to make sure. My name is Kes Rocha. I'm a health and wellness disease practitioner. I've been educating my patients for the past 2 decades on the effect that sugar has on our mouths. And now my mission and my goal is to educate and inspire you guys to start living a sugar-free lifestyle. And I'm excited because today I have on an awesome friend of mine. She's an author and she's done a lot of other things in her life. I'm sure we'll get to it, but she wrote a book that I just fell in love with. It's about a year or 2 old now. And it's called Weight Loss, W.A.I.T.Loss. And it's called The Keys to Food Freedom and Winning the Battle of the Binge. I know Wendy's going to share her story. And I think a lot of us battle binging, purging in our lives. And this is a big topic, and I'm excited to hear maybe some of you guys, if you have thoughts on this, or if you're struggling, so we can specifically answer and help you guys. But let me just throw it over. So Wendy, hey, welcome.
Can you hear me okay? Because I didn't connect up my headphones.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can hear you. I hope our audience can hear you. I'm not seeing any comments yet, but we'll keep to make sure. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great.
Okay. Okay, awesome. So why don't you, did I wrap that up okay? Anything you want to add there? You had a gym. Wendy's done many things in life. She used to work out with Billy Blanks in the Tybo videos. She owned a gym to help women feel comfortable at the gym. So she's done so many things in her life. I'm sure she'll intertwine that. But why don't we start with kind of your story, Wendy? Tell us kind of where you come from, your background, and anything you want to share with us.
Okay. So thanks, Jess. Thanks for having me on too. So I started having eating problems when I was about 12 years old. And I think if I look back, that's kind of the basis for everything else in my life. And my parents had just gotten divorced. And I remember I would walk to this little liquor store near my house where he sold candy. At that time, a kid could go into a liquor store. And I would buy Tootsie Rolls and then I'd hide them under my pillow. And so I learned at that point to deal with emotions with food. And then it just continued and carried on through high school, through college, through my first marriage, into my second marriage. And it just didn't get any better. It just got worse and worse as it went. And I never really purged per se. I couldn't vomit even though I tried a lot. I think exercise was more my purge. So I would binge and then I would exercise for hours on end. It caught up with me after having kids. I got up to about 200 pounds and I knew I needed to do something. And that's really when I started working out seriously, and I started doing Tybo and I loved it. He put me in his videos, and yeah, and then after that, I opened my gym, Sweaty Chicks Fitness, because I was still heavy. I couldn't get a job teaching fitness classes anywhere. They wouldn't even audition me. So I said, screw the gyms, I'll just do my own thing. So that's kind of what started it. And then about 4 years ago, I found a program that really helped me get healthy and helped me start understanding more about what I needed to do to be able to quit binging. I think at that point I realized that it was truly a problem, that it was an addiction that I had, and I needed to do something about it.
Awesome. Why did you decide to write your book? What was kind of your motivation with that? Why a book? Why'd you decide to? I know you're a great writer already. I know that, but why put
Actually, my senior year of high school, I got D's in English. I never thought of myself. I'm a scientist, not a writer. Actually,
Wendy comes from a science background. She's pretty dang smart.
I went to BYU, studied microbiology, thought I wanted to go to med school. So good I didn't go to med school because I can't even pull a sliver out of my kids' fingers without dry heaving. So after I found this program that helped me get healthy physically, I started working on the mental part. Once I learned how to fuel my body properly and take care of my physical self, it kind of freed me up a little bit to start working on the mindful stuff, on the brain stuff. And, you always hear these things about being mindful, being present. And I never really understood it until I read a book by a girl named Katherine Hansen. And her book is called Brain Over Binge. I highly recommend it. She's amazing. And we've gotten to be pretty good friends since then. And she had started binging and learned how to quit binging by separating the front part of her brain from the back part of the brain. So we really have three parts to our brain. But if you think about this back part in terms of your survival, it's where it holds the fight or flight instinct. Everything that keeps you alive is back here, breathing, heart rate, all that stuff. And then this prefrontal cortex is that's you. That's what makes you think, makes you have logic. And she, in her book, talks about how this voice says one thing and this voice says another thing, and how to learn to control this back survival instinct, bratty voice from the voice that wants what's in your best interest. And so I learned to do that. It just really resonated with me because, our whole lives you hear about how addiction and food disorders and all of these things are a disease or an illness. And Katherine said it's not. They're not an illness. We have control over it. And I look back now and realize that for all those years I was using that just as an excuse. That was something that this back voice was saying to me. It was saying, oh, this is an illness. You can't control it. So go ahead and eat 2 dozen donuts, and I would think that was okay because it was an illness, a disease. So as soon as I learned that I could actually control it because this part of the brain is what lifts my fork, then I just knew I needed to share it with other people. That was all. It originally just started as a pamphlet for my clients. I wanted them to understand that once they're physically okay, then they can start working on this other aspect. And I kept writing and writing, and it turned into a book.
And it's awesome. I read it. It's amazing. And I wanted to read every review on Amazon is like a 5-star. I don't know if you even looked, Wendy, but every single person that has read it has said something amazing. And this one caught my eye. I wanted to just share it. She said, I have read 1,000 weight loss books and been on at least as many diets. I know how to eat right, but I don't. I know the science, but I don't apply it. Couldn't figure out what my problem was. Just not enough willpower, I guess. Wendy Hendry, thank you for this book. Yeah, habits and lifestyle and all those things that you hear over and over, but her style of writing and storytelling over and over, I found myself having those aha moments. The little weight principles in between the chapters were awesome. One step at a time, I can do this. Best and only weight loss book I have read in a long time. I thought, and just do it on and on and on. The comments are just like that. So I'm proud of you. Just a book that's fluff. It's actually helping people change their lives with binging. So you're amazing.
The comments, because I saw a comment from Annette. Hey, Annette. And from Megan said we froze and she had to get back on. But they're popping.
So the comments are working. Sweet. Guys, so we can see your comments. So those who are jumping on here, say hi. There's no little thumbs, I don't think. Well, maybe there are. If there's thumbs and hearts, give us thumbs and hearts. But especially write your comments. If you guys want us to talk about something, we'll talk about it. So I have a few questions for you, Wendy, if we'll keep going here, then as questions come in. I want to know, what's been the most rewarding part about writing the book?
Oh, definitely the readers that, hey, Kim, weight loss, W.A.I.T. And it's free on Kindle right now. I made it free for a little while. So it's on there. You can look it up by my name, Wendy Hendry. Or you can even get there from my website, from wendyhendry.com if you want. But yeah, it's free. So download it, and I hope it helps. And that's what's been the most rewarding thing, to answer your question. I remember the first email I got from somebody I didn't know that had read the book, and it talked about how much it had helped them. It was really emotional for me. I started crying, and yeah, it was really emotional. And so absolutely the best part is just hearing from, hey, Kim, hearing from my readers and knowing that it's actually making a difference. Like I prayed really hard while I was writing that book. I just wanted to help because I didn't want people to have to go through the hell that I went through for 35 years, letting food control every single aspect of your being. You know, I look back and think, man, I missed out on a lot of really good stuff, you know, because I didn't go, or I didn't feel good because I had just binged or whatever. It controlled me.
So on the other side of that, what was the hardest part about writing the book?
You know, it was hard. My parents both, we will, Annette, for sure. My parents died not long before I started writing. My mom died in 2012 and my dad died in 2013. And so going back and having to kind of relive their divorce and remember things from my past. My mom died from diabetes-related issues, and both my parents were heavy, and so going back was a little difficult. It was a little painful, but good, but painful.
We both have that in common with the diabetes. Losing our parents too young.
Yep,
it's close to our. Okay, let's see. I know there was a question from somebody, and I think actually this was Kim, that will maybe have Wendy answer. So what are some of your ideas, Wendy, on beating emotional eating, especially when they're stressed, they're sad, or happy, you name it, that emotional roller coaster of eating?
That is a really good question. I actually met with one of my clients today, and that is the exact question. That was the topic for our whole session today. And I'm going to explain what happens and why that happens. And I think just understanding exactly what's going on when that happens will help you be able to bust through and make some changes. So I was talking about the 2 parts to our brain. We actually have 3 parts to our brain. So you have the reptile layer. It's the first part of your brain to develop. Should I go into this, Kes?
Yeah. I like the science side, so yeah.
All right. It's the first part of the brain to develop, the same brain that like a lizard has. And it holds all of your instinctual stuff, like your fight or flight. Like if a bear approached a lizard, it would scram really quick, right? And that's because it has this part. Then this part, the second part, is like the mammal brain. So higher mammals, monkeys and stuff, have this part of the brain, and it's what holds our emotions. So we have instinct, emotions, and then the human brain, the thing that separates us from the animals, that's that top layer. This front part right here is called the prefrontal cortex, and it is what does all of your thinking, your logic. It makes decisions for you. It warns you about things. It always wants what's in your best interest. This reptile brain, the limbic system, I call it a brat. It just wants to feel good. It wants to be safe. It wants pleasure. It wants to get high, whatever. And when we start associating, I need to explain too, habits. When habits start, they start up here. Think back of when you were learning to drive a car, for example. Like you had to really think about it. You know, you had to push the brake and the stick shift, and when you were going places, you had to really pay attention, right? Well, after a while, it becomes a habit, and you don't even have to think about it. You just do it, right? And that's because it moves from this part of your brain to the back part of your brain, into that instinctual part. And what happens is, once that becomes a habit, and you start associating it with that second layer, with the emotions, it just starts to form these neural pathways. And so it becomes kind of one in the same. And when you first start something, like when the first time somebody gets high, it triggers a part in your brain that is the pleasure center. It releases dopamine and you feel really good. Once it moves back here into the habit portion, it triggers a different part of the brain that is an anticipation of pleasure. And so once it becomes a habit, once it becomes an addiction, you're constantly craving that same pleasure, but you're not going to get it. It's like an orgasm that almost happens. And then you start associating that with your emotions and with places and with people, and it just kind of all gets jumbled. But if you can remember that you can separate these brains, if you hear the voice back here that says eat the chocolate, and you have the voice up here that says don't eat the chocolate, this voice back here is like a kid throwing a temper tantrum. It has no power. It can't even lift the stinking fork. And so what's the best thing to do if your kid's throwing a temper tantrum? What happens if you give them what they want? It just gets worse, right? It gets worse, and they're going to throw more temper tantrums. But if you can ignore them, eventually they quit doing it. And it's the same with this. If you can use this part of your brain to tell this part of your brain, hey, I know you're screaming back there, but I'm going to ignore you. And you do that more and more. Eventually, that habit loop, that habit you've developed, you find new neural pathways, and the voice kind of gets quieter, and it gets easier. So practice that. The next time you feel like walking into your kitchen and eating, but you're not hungry, try listening to those two voices and see what this is telling you. It might be telling you, oh, you're sad. You deserve that chocolate. Well, it's just your kid throwing a temper tantrum. It can't make you eat that chocolate. So then use this part of your brain to say, I hear you, kid. I hear you back there, but I'm not going to listen. And see what happens. It's interesting.
I love how you explain that. I don't think I've ever heard anybody else explain it that way. And Wendy puts it in such layman's terms to help us.
Amen.
I know you have the science background to back you up, but I love that you put it just in terms that make sense. Your spoiled brat is screaming at you, and if you can tell him to be quiet enough, eventually they understand. So that's awesome.
Sneaky bastard too. Sometimes those excuses can be kind of tricky, so you got to listen out for them.
Okay, another question. So I'm a stay-at-home mom, so a lot of baking for school functions, and spend a lot of time in the kitchen. How do I stop nibbling all day?
Costco. You just go to Costco to buy the stuff.
You go to Costco when you go through and try everything.
Yeah, that's hard when you've got that temptation around you all the time. I don't know. I usually, if I'm cooking something, I try to eat something healthy before I start cooking so that I'm not hungry at all, especially protein. I always have like boiled eggs and string cheese in my fridge, and eat protein, it'll kind of help keep you satisfied. And then it's just all about being mindful. When we get in trouble, it's because we go into autopilot. And when you go into autopilot and you start eating, distracted eating, this part of your brain kind of shuts down a little bit. So it's important just to stay present hard when you're baking yummy things.
Okay, that's all the questions I have so far. If you guys have anything else, quickly throw them up there. Yeah, I know.
Oh, man, Kim.
Far away. They were iced in and weren't able to even go shopping. So
make stuff you don't like. That might help. The baked goods, that's the tough ones for me too.
So Wendy, share with us what's next for you. What's on your future
radar? Well, I just started. I've been a health coach for a long time, but I've just sort of, since I've read my book, moved more into the food addiction group, helping them. So I'm hoping to do more of that. It works. Like what I'm talking about just works. And so my goal is just to reach as many people as I can and help them.
And I know you will, because you're amazing and I love you and I appreciate getting on here.
We're sisters. We're sisters from a different mother.
I know. When I met this woman, I knew we would be connected for the rest of my life. So,
yeah, me too.
Okay. Any other questions? Anybody else want to throw them out real quick? How can we find you, Wendy? What are some places?
My website, Wendy Hendry, WendyHendry.com. And you can connect on Facebook and everything from there.
Okay. Don't you have a support group, Facebook group for
Food and Freedom support group? It's just free for anybody that could use extra help. I get on there live. Kess will be in there next week live. So yeah.
Yeah. And I'll put the link for that for you guys in this group so that you guys can join her group, because the more support that you have, I know you're going to reach your health goals. So awesome. This was fun. I liked it. I like not having just the one-sided conversation, and we're going to be doing more of these. I'm going to have a guest next week, and she's going to be talking about over-exercising and how that toll took on her body. And if you guys continue to like this, I'll keep booking more and more guests to come on here so that it's not just my voice only on here, so that you guys hear a lot of people speaking. So I appreciate you being on. Wendy, thank you so much for coming on and joining me.
Thanks.
Love ya.
Love ya. Bye.
We'll see you guys.